South with the Seabirds. Follow four remarkable scientists to the edge of the world. By Jess McGeachin. On a cold, windy beach, a young girl sketched the seabirds. As they soared, swooped, and skimmed across the waves, she carefully drew them in her nature diary. Her name was Mary Gillham. Mary grew up to be a naturalist, studying strange plants and animals. It was a good job that took her all around the world, from arid deserts to rocky islands. But there were still places she wasn't yet able to visit, and one of them was Macquarie Island in the sub-Antarctic. The year was 1959, and Antarctica was seen as a place for heroes and adventurers, not women like Mary. Mary was not one to take no for an answer. She wrote to politicians and people in power, explaining how important it was to study the island and the animals that lived there. She didn't know it yet, but on the opposite side of the world, three other scientists were doing the same. At last, a letter arrived. Mary was invited to be one of the first four women to join a research expedition to Macquarie Island. They would be watched closely by the world. They gathered at the Melbourne docks. It was a warm December day, and the ice-breaking ship, the Aloud, gleamed in the afternoon sun. Mary was joined by fellow scientists Isobel Bennett, Hope McPherson, and Susan Ingham. The Aloud sailed south for 5 days. She glided across calm, sparkling seas and rocked from side to side in stormy waves. Cups slid from their saucers and the scientists from their bunks. Along the way, they were followed by seabirds. Giant petrels watched from above, hoping to snatch some fish. Wandering albatrosses soared on the westerly wind, some staying at sea for years at a time. Antarctic tern, Antarctic prion, southern giant petrel, wandering albatross, Wilson storm petrel, black-browed albatross. They came at last to an island at the edge of the world. The four scientists boarded a boat that became a truck, which drove them safely to shore. Mary and the others were greeted by the smell of salt and seaweed. Rocky cliffs rose from the ocean, and the grass was bent with the wind. Everyone got straight to work. The marine biologists, Hope and Isobel, waded through spaghetti-like kelp to the coast. They wanted to know which animals lived in the rock pools, worlds forever changing with the tide. On the coast they found subantarctic crabs, chitons, sea stars, giant kelp, sea anemones, and sea urchins. Mary climbed up steep cliffs to watch the seabirds. She was curious to find out how they lived among the island's unique plants, and sad to see that introduced rabbits were damaging the landscape. Nesting on the island, Mary saw black-browed albatrosses, Macquarie Island cormorants, kelp gulls, subantarctic skuas, and white-headed petrels. Susan counted herds of seals. They had once been hunted on the island for their fur and oil, so she wanted to know if their population was growing again. They looked like shiny rocks lying on the black sand. On the beach she spotted southern elephant seals, arc, Antarctic fur seals, subantarctic fur seals, and New Zealand fur seals. Everyone watched the penguins. It was summer, and hundreds of thousands had come to the island in their best suits to find the perfect partner. There were colonies of colourful royal penguins which live almost nowhere else in the world. There were kings feeding their fluffy chicks, who were chirping loudly for more. There were gentoos, who looked a little wobbly on land, but were fast and graceful in the sea. And there were small southern rockhoppers with rockstar hair jumping across the cliff tops with ease. The scientists walked back to the research station, their field notes full of wild plants and animals, and their boots thick with mud. They celebrated Christmas that night with roast chicken and plum pudding, while the seals snored loudly under the stars. All too soon it was time to go. The scientists waved goodbye to the wild, wonderful island and set sail for home. Mary, Susan, Hope, and Isabel arrived back to a flurry of cameras and questions. Some newspaper reporters were more interested in what they wore than the things they'd learned, but the scientists knew the real story was about a small, precious island. They couldn't wait to share what they had discovered. Today, the rabbits and other introduced species have been removed, and Macquarie Island is slowly starting to recover. A team of scientists studying seabirds climb up to the plateau and look out across 4 bright blue lakes. They are Lake Macpherson, Lake Ingham, Lake Gillham, and Lake Bennett. A timeline of Macquarie Island. 600,000 years ago, 2 tectonic plates in Earth's crust slowly squeezed together, rising above the sea and forming an island. Seeds float their way to its shores, finding a foothold and turning the rocky slopes lush and green. 1810. A sealer named Captain Frederick Hasselborough spots a lone, windy island in the middle of the Southern Ocean. He names it Macquarie Island to impress the Governor of New South Wales. 1810 to 1919. News of the island spreads, and ships soon arrive to exploit its abundant animals. More than 200,000 fur seals are hunted for their skins, and later elephant seals and penguins for their blubber, which is used for oil. 1870. Rabbits, rats, and other feral species are introduced to the island, devastating the native plants and animals. They erode the landscape and prey on the young seabirds. 1897 to 1922. The world becomes fascinated by Antarctic exploration, and Macquarie Island is visited by many famous explorers on their way south. 1911. Explorer Sir Douglas Mawson establishes the island's first scientific station, and the interest in studying its unique plants and animals grows. The station is later managed by the Australian Antarctic Division. 1919. The last oil ship leaves Macquarie Island. The metal barrels and digesters remain, rusty reminders of how much humans have taken from this small, wild place. The island is declared a wildlife sanctuary a decade later. 1959. 4 scientists join a research trip to Macquarie Island with Anair, Australian National Antarctic Research Expedition. They are Mary Gillham, Susan Ingham, Hope McPherson, and Isobel Bennett, the first women ever permitted to do so. 1997. The island is added to the World Heritage List. 2007. The Government of Australia agrees to eradicate pests on the island. In 2010, bait is dropped from helicopters, but sadly native seabirds are poisoned too. Despite this, the conservation effort shows early signs of success. 2014. Macquarie Island is declared pest-free. It's the largest island in the world to achieve this level of eradication, and a reminder that we can begin to undo the damage we've done to the natural world. 2023. After much lobbying, the marine park surrounding the Macquarie Island is tripled in size. It's a fragile success, and one that comes at a time when the island is again under threat, not from sealers or introduced species, but from human-caused climate change. Can we change our course once again?